Wolf pack versus giant deer escape across the frozen river into a frozen wilderness. A giant deer struggled to survive a harsh winter. Food was scarce, and a hungry pack of 15 wolves began hunting it. One morning, the wolves followed fresh tracks through the snow and found the deer beside the frozen river. The deer fled, leaping over trees and racing through deep snow. The wolves chased it for miles. At last, the deer ran onto the frozen river. The wolves followed, docked suddenly, dash crack. A large crack spread across the ice. The deer kept running as the wolves closed in. Who would survive? Would the deer escape, or would the wolves catch their prey? The giant deer raced across the frozen river. Its powerful legs pushed it forward as snow and ice flew behind. The pack of 15 wolves followed close behind. The distance between predator and prey was shrinking. Deer could hear their growls echoing across the frozen valley. Suddenly, another loud crack spread beneath the ice. The deer glanced down. Thin lines were spreading across the frozen river like a giant spider web. The ice was becoming unstable, but stopping was not an option. The wolves were too close. The giant deer continued, running behind it. The wolf pack charged forward without hesitation. The wolf leader knew. The deer was becoming tired. Hours of running through deep snow had drained its strength. The wolves sensed weakness. They pushed harder. The frozen river stretched far into the distance. Strong winds howled across the open ice. Snow swirled through the air. Visibility became worse. The deer struggled to see where it was going. Then disaster struck. One of the wolves stepped onto a weak section of ice crack. The ice broke beneath its feet. The wolf fell into the freezing water. The rest of the pack quickly jumped away from the hole. The trapped wolf fought desperately. After several frightening moments, it managed to climb back onto the ice. The pack continued the chase, but now everyone understood the danger. The river itself had become an enemy. The giant deer reached the center of the frozen river. Its breathing grew heavy. Its legs felt weak. The wolves were closer than ever. One young wolf suddenly lunged forward. The deer kicked backward with tremendous force. The wolf was thrown into the snow and slid across the ice. The pack leader growled angrily. The wolves changed strategy. Instead of chasing directly behind the deer, they began spreading. Some moved to the left, others moved to the right. They were trying to surround their prey. The giant deer realized what was happening. For the first time, fear appeared in its eyes. The wolves were cutting off at its root. Then, a powerful snowstorm arrived. Dark clouds covered the sky. Snow blasted across the river. The frozen world disappeared behind a wall of white. Neither the wolves nor the deer could see very far. Yet the chase continued. Suddenly, a deep rumbling sound echoed through the valley. The deer stopped. The wolves stopped. The sound grew louder. Rumble. Something was happening upstream. Something dangerous was coming toward the frozen river. The deer looked into the blizzard. Wolves stared into the swirling snow. Neither side knew what was approaching, but both knew trouble was near. The frozen river fell silent. The giant deer stood, motionless. The wolf pack stopped their pursuit. The strange rumbling sound continued to grow louder. Rumble, dot, dot, dot. Rumble, dot, dot, dot. The snowstorm raged around them. Visibility was almost zero. The deer stared into the white darkness ahead. The wolves listened carefully. Then, suddenly, the source of the sound appeared, far upstream. A massive wall of water and broken ice was rushing down the river. A section of the frozen river had collapsed. The icy flood was racing toward them. The giant deer immediately turned and ran. The wolves scattered across the ice. The flood moved faster than anyone expected. Huge chunks of ice crashed into one another. The river shook violently. Crack. Long fractures spread across the frozen surface. The deer sprinted with all its remaining strength. Its powerful legs pushed harder than ever before. The nearest riverbank was still far away. The wolves struggled to stay together. The pack leader howled loudly. Dot, the wolves, followed its commands and headed toward higher ground. But the flood was getting closer. The deer reached a large crack in the ice without slowing down. It jumped for a moment. It flew through the air. Then dash, thud. It landed safely on the other side. The wolves followed. Some cleared the gap. Others barely made it. The frozen river continued breaking apart. Ice blocks rolled and crashed. Together, the deer could now see the riverbank. Freedom was close. The wolves were still behind it, exhausted, hungry, determined. One final sprint remained. The giant deer gathered every bit of strength left in its body. It charged forward. The wolves launched one last attack. The distance between them rapidly disappeared. Then, disaster struck again. A huge section of ice suddenly collapsed between the wolves and the deer. Crash. Freezing water surged upward. The wolf pack stopped immediately. The gap was too wide to cross. The deer had reached safety with one final leap. It jumped onto solid ground. The giant animal climbed a snowy hill and looked back. The wolves stood helplessly, bong the broken ice. Their prey had escaped. The pack leader watched the deer disappear into the snowy forest. The hunt was over. The wolves slowly turned away. They would need to find food somewhere else. The giant deer continued deeper into the woods. It was exhausted. It was hungry, but it was alive. Golden sunlight finally broke through the storm clouds. The snowstorm ended. The frozen valley sparkled beneath the light, far in the distance. The giant deer rejoined its herd. The wolves vanished into the forest. Both sides had survived another brutal winter day. And in the frozen wilderness, survival was the greatest victory of all. As the sun set behind the mountains, the tracks of wolf and deer slowly disappeared beneath fresh snow. But the legend of the giant deer's escape across the frozen river would live on forever. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe to Wild Saga for more epic wildlife adventures and survival stories.